person's supposed to be neutral, like stoic? Supposed to be so happy, bring it on, has more sorrows? I don't really understand.
That's what the real Oivdei Hashem, that's what they do. Right? Yeah. Right, because we learn many times that good things, bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to bad people. Right? So in order to save them, Father Mazet. Right? So that's what it says. Anyways. Fine. Okay, so now we start. We're on the top of Yud, what is it? Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, yeah? The Mishna, hold on a second. What do we get up to? Yeah, Mishna Yud Aleph Amud Aleph.
Mishna.
Yeah, so we get into the Geirus. Now we get into the Geirus Sugyas. Yeah? So Hagiyar is the Mishnah, yeah? What time is Mincha for Ilam? What time is Mincha? Or everybody daven already?
I mirrored also.
Wow. Good
Me
for
too.
you.
I'm done. I'm done with everything.
Unbelievable.
I'm ready for Shachars.
Yeah. Good for you. Do you have a heter to do Shachris?
I didn't
Rabbi
ask.
Leo Landman.
If there was, these two would have it.
Rabbi Leo Landman, Zichron Libracha, when he had his first pulpit somewhere in Canada. So it was Shabbos afternoon, and they were ready to make Havdalah. They were using the Ezra's Torah calendar, and whatever time it said was, Havdalah, that's what they were going by. I thought it was funny. He eventually went to a different pulpit, but anyway.
Good for him. Yeah. Okay, so Zok the Mishnah. Hagiyaris v'ashvuya v'ashivcha. So these are all people that it's assumed that they are not virgins, not besulas. Hagiyaris, shvuya, she's captured. Shivcha, sheniftu, that was redeemed. V'sheniskairu, she became a giyaris. V'shenishtachru, and they got freed. Right? It's interesting. It's out of the order. Did anybody notice that with the Mishnah? It says Giyaris, captured, and Shivcha. And that was redeemed, became a Giyaris, and was freed. The three don't align.
Also went from singular to plural.
That's true too. Right? But alas, we're doing Daf Yomi, so we go weiter. Yeah? So if this happened before they were less than 3 years old, so as we learned, the besulim come back. If anything, if the besulim get ruined less than age 3, so besulim automatically come back. So therefore, they have still a chazaka of being besulas, and the kesuba masayim, and the kesuba is 200. The yeshan tainis besulim, and they could also have a tainis besulim, meaning the husband could have a taina and say that, hey, she's supposed to be a besula, right? And therefore, she will lose her, if she's not, she's going to lose her kesuba. All right, fine. So now, Amar Rav Huna, so Rav Huna says, Amar Rav Huna, ger katan matfilin oisay al das bezdin. So a ger katan you're allowed to be toivel him al das bezdin. Now, who's exactly doing this tefillah? Right? So Rashi says it's not the father, it's the mother doing it. So the mother's bringing the baby, the mother is Mistama becoming Yaris, and she's bringing her kid with her. So we can be Toiveler, I'll das the bezdin. So Gemara asks, my Kamashal, what's the Chiddush? The zchus ulai. It's a zchus for the kid to become a Yid. And we know the rule of Zach and Adam Shalai B'fanav, but we can be Mizaka for somebody not in front of him, meaning if, like, we said this, I think, last week, the week before. Somebody's giving out something for free, like they're giving out these food packages again, right? So can you go take one for your friend? So what's the loss for your friend to have it? Worst comes to worst, he throws it in the garbage. So you're allowed to be Zaychin it for him. So here, why can't you be Zaychin this little kid, this little Gaisha kid? It's a zchus for him to be a Yid.
How is it
Right.
a zchus? He's gonna get punished for all sorts of things that he wouldn't get punished for.
Good question. But the bottom line is he's gonna have a zchus in olam haba. The bottom line is it's better to be a yid than a guy because it might be more difficult, but at the end of the day you're gonna be better off. Just like we said in Musar now. Somebody who has yisurim in the short term is a problem, but in the long term he's gonna be a lot better off. Right?
But Yaakov, what ger has a father and mother? What ger cut would have a father and mother? When Rashi says "Ein le av ve'em," what does that mean?
No. What?
Oh, he has a mother.
No.
But he's a common wrong.
He has no yichus. What yichus does he have if he's a ger?
No, he doesn't have yichus. He doesn't have yichus, but that's
what is this lafuke? And Rashi says "Ein le av ve'em." Every tzir of a ger cut.
It's imein loy av. It's imein loy av kama.
No,
When
Bein is bringing him.
when he was a guy, he didn't have a father.
He never has a father if he's being Megayer. What does that mean? His father's being Megayer him?
That's why Bezdin has to do it.
That's the acting in
Rashi's
local
max, if he did have a
acting in
father and
place
mother,
of
he
the father.
wouldn't be Bezdin.
What?
Why does Rashi have to speak this out? Every Ger Katan does not have a father and mother. So every
No,
Ger
but I
Katan-
No. We're talking about before. Before it becomes
It's always
a ger.
before.
No, I
understand that. I'm asking what of course every seer of a Ger Katan deals with Ein Le Av Ve'em. There's not one seer ever where you'll have a Ger Katan whose parents are bringing him to be Megayer.
Okay.
So what is
So
Rashi telling us?
Okay, so I think Viter will answer the question the way I understood it. Let's just see a little bit Viter, and then I think that will be the answer. I think. But so let's see. The Gemara says, "My kamash, what's a chiddush? Just zchus ulay that it's a zchus b'zachal adam shalei b'fanav. For zayich where a person shalei b'fanav. Tanina, we already learned zachal adam shalei b'fanav. Ein chavin adam shalei b'fanav. We do a zchus for a person not in front of him. Ein chavin adam shalei b'fanav, and we're not mechayiv him anything. So when it says no mal, the same chavin befkera nichalei. So you would think no, sort of like what the doctor is saying that an oivik chavim would rather be hefker. Right? And it's actually causing him pain. And Eved would definitely want to be more hefker. He could sleep with whoever he wants. He could do whatever he wants like that. Kamash Malan. So it's teaching us the Ani Mili Gadol. That's by Gadol. But the Tom di Surah, because he already had the Tom of Isser. Avakata and Zchusulai, but a kata and it's a zchus, meaning get him young and dumb. Right? So you get him young and dumb. So then they're happy to become Yidden. Once they get a little bit older, then it's a problem, right? So, let's say this is a proof.
Why are we turning away Giyarim? If it's a zchus for them, so why are we turning them away?
Because Klal Yisrael is not supposed to look for them. If they want it, so then fine.
You're not supposed to turn them away even if they come to you.
No, yeah, we said we had a couple of Gemaras where it said that Gerim is not good for Klal Yisrael, right?
Right.
But the bottom line is, it would be better for every guy to become a ger, no question. Once we ascertain that the ger is legit, then we take him, right? So that's the way. That's the way it goes. Let's see. Let's see a little bit. The Lema say, let's say this is a proof. Like a yaris v'ashvi of a shivcha, sheniftu v'sheneskayim v'shenestachru pchusis mibnoi shalishon v'yamechad. So then we said in the Mishna that we had they get 200, right? Because they're considered besulas. My love that tefillinu al das bezdin. How do you have a case of a giyaris like that, less than 3 years old? Must be that they would toiveled al das bezdin. So my answer is like, the gershon is guy rabbanim of nois of we're talking about a ger whose kids became gerim with them. The nichalu b'may da'abed avuah, they're happy to do what their father's doing. That's the case, right? So therefore, that's why they become a gerim. But let's say they don't have a father, right? So that but the father's being Megayer the kid, but not himself. That's when you get into this whole. That's when you get into this whole sugya, right? So I think from this Akiva's mashma that it's only negeya when the parents don't want the kid to. I don't know if they don't want, but they're not involved in the gerus. Mashma. Then when the parents are involved, so then that's when it's nicha for the kid to become a ger, but you're still going to need the bezdin, right?
You still need to say zchus shlei b'fanav. It's just that there's a din of nicha.
Right, but we're being machalik that the kid wants to do what the parents are doing. But a kid naturally wants to do what the parents are doing. So therefore, then we have no problem with saying that it's nichale. Right? It's
so
only
what's
when
the tzir here? Why is the bezdin getting involved at all in this tzir? It's just nobody involved. They found the child?
Either that or the father, for whatever reason, wants to be Megayer his kid, but not himself. Right? It's the typical father who doesn't want to improve himself. He just wants to improve his kids. He wants his kids to be the A students, even though he was an Eisvar or is an Eisvar.
With any of these theorem, is there a din of shliach for a cotton?
Very good. That's that. You see that long Taisus, Akiva? There you go. You're welcome to do it. I don't know if you're going to have so many people happy with you, but that's the long Taisus, how this works. Because Zachin, the Chayr works out shlichus. Right, that's the right. Yeah. Oh. Anyway, so that's the sugya. Fine. So Eisvei, so I'm sorry. So I'm Rav Yosef. Igdilu, Yechaylu limchas. Once they get older, though, they can make a macha. Kid could say, "Hey, I'm done with this religion." The right when they become bar mitzvah or bas mitzvah, I don't want to become a ger. Right? And Rashi says you can't give them a knas, you can't do anything to them.
How long does that limbo period last?
Right. So the Gemara is going to say now. So how long does that last for? They could be 18, right? So Eisvei, Abaya. So now Abaya and Rava have very similar questions on this. Right? So the Gemara is going to say what the difference is soon. So Eisvei, Abaya, so if they're less than 3 years old, Subastan Masayim, the kesuba is 200, like we learned. And if you're going to think that once they become older, you're allowed to make a macha, kesuba, you're going to give them their kesuba. A kesuba, we said yesterday, was either from the Torah or is the Takanas Chacham, so people don't divorce their wives. So you're going to go give this girl her kesuba. Let's say she gets married at 6 years old. Then she gets divorced at 7. You're giving her a kesuba, and now at 12 she says, I'm done being a Jew. I got my money and I'm good to go. Right? Is that really what we want? Right? So must be that she can't go back. That's Abaya's kasha. Must be that she can't change her mind. Otherwise, we'd never do the kesuba. So my answer is no lechi gadla. We only give her the kesuba when she becomes a gadol, meaning Bezdin holds on to the money. If she becomes a gadol and stays Jewish, then we give it to her. If she does not stay Jewish, then we don't give it to her. So Gemara asks, so even when she becomes 12, she'll take the money, and then she'll just back out, right? So Gemara answers, since she was 1 hour, she grew up for 1 hour, meaning she was 12 bas mitzvah for 1 hour, and she didn't make the macha. She can't make the macha anymore, right? And like Rashi says, and if she makes the macha even an hour after becoming a bas mitzvah, then you could already you can give her anshim, but Bezdin can punish her.
What does Rashi mean earlier? V'im kiddush. What does Rashi mean? V'im kiddush. If it's a boy and Yivim Kiddush, then she's how is it possible for him to be Mekadosh somebody if he's not a gadol?
No, 9 years old. No.
Yeah, that's Kedushin Deraisa?
No, not a Deraisa. It wouldn't be a Deraisa.
So then what does he mean V'im Kiddush? It's retro, so who cares? Earlier, Rashi says if you're Meicha, everything's retroactively nothing. So So Rashi says, and if you are Mekadosh, when you after you're Mekadosh, it's nothing. We were talking about a boy that's Meicha.
I think it means in Kiddush Isha, if a man, Stama man, is that Rashi? That's what you're going on?
Oh, you're saying a Kana. You're saying she's the one that's being Meicha.
Yes. Correct. She's the one. That's what. Okay. That's the dealing with. She's the one being Meicha. So Lamaita. So let's say this. Remember the sugya we had last week. Let's say there was traffic on the way to the Bezdin. Like, who does she make this macha to? Like 3 friends? Like, or she has to go back to the original Bezdin? Well, let's say there was traffic. Right? So I don't know. I don't know exactly what that means. Yeah. Oh, you have. I'm sorry. Right. There's a Tosis Yishanim, I think. There's a Tosis Yishanim, Tosis Rid. Somebody who says that it has to be. What does he say again? Right, meaning they were already, showing before. It's not like all of a sudden, she could. How do you call it? It's not all of a sudden like she turns 12. She goes and davens chakras at the minyan in the morning, and then she turns 12. Then that night, and then she renounces. No, he says it's talking about where she was already showing that she's not interested in being a yid. And then, but her official announcement can't come until she becomes 12. That's essentially what it is. Now, another thing is that we say mitzvah sayam kakulay with this, right? Or is it exact to the 12? To the meaning normally bar mitzvah we don't make you wait, even though there is a shita that says that. Like, let's say a kid is born 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So can you make the bar mitzvah the night before, or you have to wait for 5 o'clock in the afternoon till he's a full 13 years, right? So we paskin obviously that you don't need the full 13 years. As long as you're into that day, you're okay. I don't know if that same thing applies. I don't know if that same thing applies here. I'm not sure. But anyways, fine. Masav Rava, so that was Abaya's kasha. Rava's kasha is similar.
Is Mina Gaius of the Taisus Yishanim? What is Mina Gaius?
I don't know. I don't know, right? Yeah. Now, anyways, so now Rava has a similar question, but he asked from a different subject. These are the nairas who get a knas, right? Meaning they get, like we saw yesterday, they get 50 silver coins if they were raped. Habala mamzeres, vala nesina, vala kusis, vala giyares, vala shvuya, vala shifcha, sheniftu, v'sheneshkairu, v'sheneshtachru, plusis, mibash. They all get the knas. And if you're going to say that this giyaris, when she becomes 12, when she becomes bas mitzvah, she can make a macha. Yavina le knas, the achla, the azav achla b'giyusa. We're going to give her a knas that she can go eat it when she's no longer when she's a guy. So when it answers l'chigad, the same teretz. We're only going to give her the money once she becomes grown up and she continues to be a yid. So if you're going to give it to her, maybe she'll become a yid. Maybe she'll stay a yid, get the money, and then she becomes back to a guy. So my answer is, since she was already 12 years old for an hour, then and she didn't make a macha, and then she can no longer make a macha. Fine. Abaya lo yamar Rava, meaning so Abaya and Rava both asked kashas. Abaya asked from our Mishna. Rava asked from knas. So meaning one asked from kesuba, one asked from knas. So Abaya lo yamar Rava. Abaya didn't say like Rava also knasa. There the knas is hainu taima shelo yechayte nisker. That's because you don't want the chayte to get the schar, right? Because we don't want her. She's doing a chet, which is a little bit of a strong term, right? Because she's doing a chet by that. I mean, she doesn't want to become a giyaris, right? Okay, but that's the way he's calling it. Rava, so that's why he didn't want to say, like, I'm sorry, I'm mixing it up. No, by knas, I'm sorry, I mixed it up, I apologize. By knas, we don't want the chayte to get away, meaning the guy that was ma'anis, We don't want him. We're going to say, oh, don't pay it because it's she might be a guy, right? So what? He should get schar now because he was manis. He should lose. He shouldn't lose the money. So therefore, there he would say he has to pay. Rava, Rava does not say kabaya. Kesuba, hainu time shaloi take kalabain of loitzia. Like kesuba, we want to make sure he pays this money so that he shouldn't just divorce his wife for no good reason. So therefore, he didn't want to. Therefore, he didn't want to say that. He didn't want to. He didn't want him to not have to pay the kesuba money because we don't want him divorcing people. So as long as she's still a yid, even though she could renege on that eventually, still we're going to let her have the kesuba money, right? Okay, so they're either way they're both saying essentially the same terutzim. It's just a matter of which way to ask the kasha. And the bottom line is that Bezdin will keep the money and they'll give it to her only after an hour after she becomes bas mitzvah and she shows that she's what do you call it? Now I don't know what happens. Let's say she stays from for a day and Bezdin still hasn't given her money, and then she says, oh, forget it, I was holding off my money, now I'm going back to becoming a guy. Do they give her the money now or did they not give her the money? Right? Because rightfully it was hers. Now she became a mummer. Okay, so she became a mummer. It's bad, but don't they owe her the money? Yeah, fine. Talk to Mishna. Yeah, so a gadol shabal a katana. We had this in Yevamis. If you have a gadol that sleeps with a katana, the katan shabal the gedola, and a katan that sleeps with a gedola, mukas eitz, or a woman who got hit with wood in the Isa Makam area, so she lost her hymen, so she lost her besulim. Ksubas and Messiah, the ksuba is still 200, dividend mayor. Right? So, meaning the reason why Baal Katana, and this obviously talking about a katana less than 3 years old. So the bia is not considered a bia, and the besulim come back. And a katan, who's the male is the boy is the katan, that his bia is not a good bia either, so therefore she's still considered a besula. And a mukas eitz, so since she was never with a man, so in all those cases she still gets 200. Chachamim disagree, and they say that a mukas eitz gets only a kesuba of 100 because it has to do with actually having a hymen or not. If she has besulim, she gets 200. If she doesn't have besulim, we don't care how she lost the besulim, she doesn't get it. Yeah, so that's a Machlokes. Then besula, we had this yesterday. Besula almana grusha v'chalutza min anasuin. So if you have a besula, but she's an almana or a grusha or chalutza from the suin, meaning they got married, they got whatever the death happened before they were able to consummate the marriage, before she was able to become a beula. Ksuba sanmana, their ksuba is 100, right? Because she has a chazaka that she's a beula, right? The ain on Talmud Beis, the ain land tinus besulim, and they cannot have tinus.
What does a chazaka mean? I don't know what it means. She has a chazaka. Why?
Because most women do consummate the marriage relatively fast.
But we know b'yidua she didn't.
What?
Do we know she didn't? Is there eidim?
No, but it's from the suin.
Why are we assuming they didn't consummate it?
We're not assuming.
Why are we assuming?
The assumption is that she did consummate it.
So how do we know she's a psula?
No, meaning the case is where they got divorced so fast after the chuppah that it seems like it would be impossible for her to be a besula.
I mean, she had a chuppah, and a half an hour later she goes for divorce.
Correct.
So then why? So why is there a chazaka that she's moving?
Chazaka, this is where kesubos is kesubos, right? The chazaka tells you that every woman that gets married that goes to chuppah, she becomes a beula.
Yeah, but we know she got divorced after an hour. She had no time.
That's strong enough to take away the chazaka. Is that strong enough to take away the chazaka? So the Mishnah is saying no, it's not strong enough to take away the
chazaka. Is only if they did yichud together. That's the chazaka. Otherwise, there's no chazaka.
So who said they didn't?
Right. I'm saying why not? Who said right? It was a standard marriage.
So how do you know she's a psula? I'm confused.
you only know she's a besula because the assumption is they had yichud, right? They had yichud in the chasana hall, and then on the way home they got divorced. So it could be, right? It could be that they had to be in the yichud room. It's possible, you don't know, but it seems like not. So seeming like not is not going to knock off a chazaka, right? The chazaka is that they did at some point, that every married woman is considered. The chazaka is that a married woman is a beula, not a besula, which is true, right?
I get it, but I get. But so then why is the Gemara assuming besula? I just don't
because
understand.
it seems from our viewpoint, it seems like how could she possibly be a besula, a beula, right? But the bottom line is the chazaka tells us that she is. Meaning, we're going to see that it's Amud of a raya. Right? The second husband saying, I'm only giving you 100. She says that she wants 200. Fine. So she has to prove that she's a besula. That's all. She has to prove it. Bottom line is the chazaka says that she's a married woman. She's a beula. That's how it goes. Anyways, so besula, amana gusha chalutzim and asum kesubasan mana. Ve'ein lahen tainas besulim, and there can be no tainas besulim, right? Yeah. So hagiyaris, and then hashvuya, v'ashivcha, sheniftu, v'sheniskar, v'shenishtachru, yiseres albanoi shalishon. If they're more than 3 years old, sheshon v'yam echad, kesubasan mana, their kesubas are mana, ve'ein lahen tainas besulim, and they don't get tainas besulim, right? Fine. So zok the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rav, katan abal l'gedola asam mukas eitz. Right, I mean, this is what I would say. Al pisvara, we're saying that a katan less than 12 years, less than bar mitzvah, so his bia is not a bia. Good, but physically there was a bia there, right? So why shouldn't she be at the minimum like a mukas eitz, which we then said is a machlokes from Meir and the Chachamim, right? So again, some reviews on Rav katan abal gedola asam mukas eitz. Hitaka holds, Rav holds that it will make her into mukas eitz. Ki amrisa. Ki amrisa kamed shmuel amar ein mukas eitz b'basar. You cannot become a mukas eitz with basar. Meaning, if she's not a beula because of the skin, meaning from the man's aver, which we're saying it's not a bia. So even though it knocks out the besulim has to be knocked out from wood. It cannot be knocked out from flesh. Yeah. So that's a machlokes whether she's considered a mukas eitz or not. They learned it by itself, not on the Mishnah. Katan abal gedola. Rav amar asam mukas eitz. Shmuel arein mukas eitz b'basar. There's no such thing as mukas eitz. So we have a machlokes whether that child, the kid over 9, who sleeps with a woman, whether that makes it into mukas eitz. So Maser Rav Aishia gadol shavala ketana. Right. So in our Mishnah says a gadol that sleeps with a ketana. The katan abal gedola mukas eitz kesubasan masayim. Tivi Rameir. V'chamer mukas eitz kesubasan mana. The kesuba is mana, right? So now the Mishnah puts them all 3 together, and the Chachamim only are disagreeing by mukas eitz. So it must be that everybody in the Mishnah holds that the katan haba gedola doesn't make her into mukas eitz. Otherwise, they would have to disagree in that case too. If you have a gadol that sleeps with a katana, that's nothing, right? Meaning less than 3 years old. The pachas mikan kenoisen etzba ba'ayin dami. It's like putting a finger into somebody's eye, meaning when somebody sticks a finger in the eye, so it pushes in the eyeball, I guess, and then it pops back out. So the same thing with the besulim. The besulim, I'm assuming, means it's so soft, right? It's so soft that it just pops back in up until
it's actually I think more firm, but in any event.
Then what? How's it? It's more firm, so it doesn't. But then how does it not break?
I don't know.
Pushes it back instead of breaking it. Because it's harder.
I hear.
Rashi just says it's because you get a tier. You get a tier and a new tier comes. So that's.
Yeah, I didn't understand that with the tier. What does that mean? A tier.
Just as a tier shed by placing a finger in the eye is replaced by a new tier, so to the hymen of a girl less than 3 years old grows back after it has been removed.
Right. So I didn't understand. I thought meaning a tear. So why don't you compare it to you have to compare it to a tear, right? Just compare it to saliva. I don't know. So I thought with the eye when you push it in. I wasn't sure what that meant with the Rashi. Okay, either way. So it's saying that's what happens by a katana so different besula come back. But a katan abala gedola, but a katan is abala gedola. Some mukas makes it into a mukas eitz. So mukas eitz gufa plugged to the ramei rabbanon, and the mukas eitz is itself a machlokes whether a woman gets a kesuba of 100 or 100. Right. Now, this does come up because a lot of times women nowadays, for whatever, if they have gynecological issues and they have a gynecological exam and they use a speculum, that makes her into a mukas eitz, right? Because that's why the doctors, at least the frum ones, try not to do that to the women to make them, to break the besulim, right? But it could be an issue with the besulim. Now what happens if the husband doesn't know? That's the next sugi. So let's see. The machlokes is when he recognizes her, meaning he knows that she's a mukas eitz. How he knows, I don't know, but he knows. Maybe she told him. The Rameir says it's like no different than a begeris, right? A girl after 12 and a half, there's no more besulim. There can be no more tinus besulim for a girl over 12 and a half. Right, so the mukas eitz is similar to begeris. Rabbanon madam beula, and the Rabbanon compare it to beula, in which case she only gets 100. But if he didn't know about it, then
What? Why can't there be a taina?
there's a chazaka, there's no besulim.
So why do everybody write on the invitation besukala besula for?
That's a good question. First of all, not everybody writes that, but it's a good question. It means the halachic besula, but it could vary. I would say nowadays, yeah, there's many girls that are not besula. Yeah, 100%. Right. Anyway, but that's what it is. But if the husband doesn't know about it, then divrei hakol v'loy klum, then everybody holds that she gets nothing. Right?
Right. So we pass on like Rameir. I'm just continuing our discussion here. Every kesuba that we have on the Machlokes is besul to da. It's Messiah. According to the Chachamim, every single one would be a mama.
No, because you don't. Yes, they compare mukas eitz to a begeris. Right? We're saying compare mukas eitz to a begeris.
I'm going to go to your
Mayor
mitzvah. I
does-
seem to have mitzvah now.
A little bit, please.
But see, Yaakov, when you're a mukas, if she gets nothing, is the whole marriage gone because of mekatois? Meaning whenever the Mishnah says like klum, does it mean that they're still married? She gets nothing, or like klum that she gets nothing? But
So that's going to be one of the proofs from the next Gemara that it's mashma, that it's not loy klum. All right, let's see a little bit about it. So anyway, so basically, so the machlokes is totally, and how do we look at a mukas eitz? It's like a begeres, in which case she should get to 200, or do we look at her like she what's the other option? To a beula, in which case she doesn't get. So Gemara asks, "But Rameir, amay medami the beula, right? Why do we compare it to begeres? Why don't you compare it to beula?" So he said, "Beula is a ma'isa b'dei adam. A beula had a ma'isa b'dei adam, right? She was together with a man. Lo yasava b'ma'isa b'dei adam. This did not have a ma'isa b'dei adam, right? Because begeres, there was nothing happened there. It just happens to be that we know there's no long. We say biologically, you can't say that she has the hymen there. Rabbanon, according to Rabbanon, if somebody please has to mute. Rabbanon. I can't mute from my. I'm not on my iPad. So Rabbanon, Rabbanon that.
Hey Doc, can you mute?
Yeah, Rabbanon, Adamadamu law the beula nidami lebegeres. Right, when you medami or the beula, why don't you compare it to begeres? Begeres lo yisava b'maisa klal. Begeres didn't have a maisa at all. Oh, yisava b'maisa, but a mukas eitz at least had a maisa. Meaning, so you could compare. You have two ways to compare it. You compare it to a beula, where a beula, well, a beula had actually a maisa from a human interaction, right? But this other one, the mukas eitz did not have a human interaction. It was interaction with a piece of wood. And the Rabbanon was saying, well, Begeres didn't have a maisa at all, right? But the mukas eitz had some sort of maisa, right? It's somewhere in the middle. How exactly, which way to go with the mukas eitz? Either you could compare it to the maisa, something went inside her, or you could say, well, it has to be a human that went inside her, not a piece of wood. So the Gemara says, so according to everybody, if he didn't know about this, then there's nothing. She gets nothing. So Master Ram Nachman, he amaris mukas eitzani. If she says that she's a mukas eitz, who amar loiki ela jusas ishat, he says no, you slept with a man. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer, Imrim, Namenas, Rabbi Gamliel, and Rabbi Eliezer say that she's believed. So what do you mean? She's believed what? So what does she believe? That's Akiva. This is what you were saying, right? So she's believed. Hold on a second. Yeah, sorry. So she's believed what? That she has to get something, right? Meaning, because if she doesn't get anything, that means that she's not believed, right? So it has to be by them saying that she's believed. So then, and she's saying she's a mukas eitz. She's saying she's admitting she's a mukas eitz, right? So we're saying we're going to believe her. Okay, so you believe her for what? So it must be you're believing her that she gets something. So it must be that there is a kesuba, there is at least a mana, right? So how could that be? And this is obviously talking about where he didn't have any awareness of it whatsoever.
Why a mana?
What?
She should get 200.
She what?
She should get 200.
No, because she's a mukas eitz, right? Meaning, if you're saying according to everybody, if he didn't know about it, she's for sure not getting 200. So then that's this. That everybody's in agreement here that she's not getting the 200. Just a matter of you're going to get something. So it has to be that you're getting something. Yet nobody knew about it, right? So nobody knew about it yet, and you still see that you're going to get 100 or get something, which means it's going to be 100. So that can't be. So whether he recognizes it, whether he doesn't recognize it, meaning he doesn't know whether she was mukas eitz or not. Rameir Masayim. So according to Rameir, you get 200. L'Rabbanan hikirba mana. If he recognizes it, you get a mana. Lo hikirba v'lo klum, you get nothing. Right. So now that's how Rava changed it. But the Gemara says, but Rava changed his mind back from that to Tanya Ketzad. How does Hitzah Shemra work? Bala Bezdin. Right, he comes to Bezdin, Palmer Pliny, and he says, Pliny, I didn't find any besulim for your daughter. So Im Yesh Edim Shazinsa Tachtov, Yesh Kesuba Mana. If there's Edim that she was Mizana after they got engaged, so she gets a Kesuba Mana. So Gemara asks, Im Yesh Edim Shazinsa Tachtov Baskilahi. She's Chayv Skila, right? She was Mizana. No, so Hagi Gomer, Im Yesh Edim Shazinsa Tachtov Baskila, then she gets Skila. And zinsa meikara yeshuk kesuba mana. But if she was mezana from the beginning, then she gets a kesuba, meaning she was mezana before they got married, then she gets a kesuba mana. Okay. And then we continue. This is what the Gemara is saying. Besula. He married her that he thinks she's a besula. And he finds her to be a beula. Yeshla kesuba mana. She gets a kesuba of 100. If a guy marries a woman, and he didn't find besulim, I was raped once I was engaged. And your field got flooded, meaning it was your bad luck. It happened before you got engaged. And I'm getting a mekach tois because you should have told me about it, and you don't get anything. Is it possible that Rav Avin and all the Rav Amram and all the Gedolei Ador were sitting there? When Rav Sheshes says v'kashalu, and they had this question, right? Because it's a steer to the next Mishnah. V'shani, and they answered it. My mekach tois nami mi masayim. What does it mean mekach tois? It means from 200. Avamana isla, but she gets 100. V'atam lesla klal, and you're saying she doesn't get anything because he didn't know about whether she was whether she's a besula. No, the one that asked a good question. Mekach tois legamri mashma. Mekach tois is mashma legamri, not that she's going to get 100. That it's going to be that there's going to be nothing there. So, but this is what the kasha should be, right? Yeah. So tiritz ve'emahachi. So Rava then says, let's say this answer: Im yesh edim shezinta tachtov b'skila. If she has edim that she was mezana, then skila zinta mei kara v'loy klum. If she was mezana from the beginning, then she gets nothing because it's a mekach tois. Nimtzes mukas eitz. And she's found to be mukas eitz, yesha kesuba mana, she gets a kesuba mana, right? So basically, the way the Gemara is saying it now, you have all the possibilities. If she was mazana after they got engaged, skila. If she was mazana before they got engaged, she gets nothing because of mekach tois. And if she was a mukas eitz, she gets 100. But wasn't Rava the one that says if the Rabbanon don't recognize her? I mean, after all, if the guy doesn't recognize it as a mukas eitz, and she gets nothing. So it must be that Rava was chayzer, and he holds that the Chama would hold that she will always get a mana. It's right. Right. Meaning, according to this, with the way Rava is changing his mind, he's saying she's always getting a mana, regardless of whether the husband knew about it or not. And the bottom line is that's the way the way we paskin that she gets a mana. Mukas eitz gets a mana. Now what happens bizmana zeh with the kesubas? I'm not exactly sure, because there are times when the girl knows, the kala knows that she is a mukas eitz, right?
Let's say if a girl goes on a horse, maybe sometimes.
No, but that's not going to be called mukas eitz. That might be why in the mitzias the begeris loses her besulim. Right now, there is an issue that comes up where the girl is not a besula because she had a maisa. She was either raped or she was together with a guy, and now she wants to get married, like a regular frum girl or a balashu, and she doesn't want everybody to know. So, what do you write in the kesuba? Maisa, what do you write in the kesuba?
No, you read the regular kesuba, and then you give them a separate kesuba.
Is that Rabbaisha?
It doesn't seem like that's an option.
Why?
I don't know why that doesn't seem to be an option. First thing is that she has to tell the husband. Otherwise, it's mamash and mekach tois. Right? If she does not tell her husband it's a mekach tois, he can get divorced. That's without a question. So the first thing is he needs to know about it and he needs to be moichel. Once you get to that, then you could start handling how to do it. So one way they do it is they takafil at the kesuba as a beula. And they tell the person reading the kesuba to like mumble the words. You can't read it as besula, which Zev, I always wondered, why can't you just lie, right? Or what? So lie.
Well,
right.
I'm saying so because of being embarrassing.
That you should be able to lie, yes, but for some reason it doesn't seem to be an option.
Yeah.
Rav Feinstein just said, from what I remember, there's a bunch of times that this came up. David Feinstein just put in the besula, as long as the husband's Michael, and finished, everybody's happy, right? Then there was
he puts in the regular kesuba.
Puts in regular besula, yeah.
200.
200, yes.
Now what? Who's Michael? There's a separate star that says he's Michael.
Oh no, he's verbally Michael, and that's it.
And what happens if they get divorced? He owes her 100 or 200?
He's Michael. He's masking to pay extra.
Ah, okay.
Then there was a chasana that I had a few months ago, and Reb Hillel David paskined that get 2 eidim, meaning this was a case where everybody knew that they were living with each other. So it wasn't like anything hidden. So what are you going to do? Write beula to do that berabim? So they didn't want to do that. So basically, the Masadik Dushan, I don't know how I got the job, but he said, go get 2 eidim who don't know anybody in this chasana and never heard of them. Bring them to the chasana. They're going to sign the kesuba like this. They're not shakranim. This is the way I understood it. They're not shakranim because they have no idea. I told these 2 eidim. I found 2 eidim. I said, listen, you come into this thing. You're signing the kesuba. Don't ask no questions and get out. All right. So that's exactly what happened.
Then what? So they're signing it, and then what happens?
Then they left. It finished.
Yeah. So how does that help?
No, at least it's not a sheker. If you bring people that there and everybody knows that this couple was living with each other for a couple of years, right? So then how do you go? Anybody bring an A? So I'm signing on this, that I think this is the way I understood it.
Can I ask you, Shiloh, what's this whole thing that you have to read it out loud?
That's Rashi from the what he called to be just als mechalik between the brachas on the Bar Priya Gofen.
If you don't read it out loud, is it a problem?
No, be'etzem it's not. You could just make a hafsaka and everybody could sing a niggin, right?
No.
You could get the guy to sing a meshkachech then instead of later.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
And a chanami, I don't know why. I don't know what I never understood why they're so like, okay, so she's.
And what's the chiluk? What you read? Just hand the kesuba that says 100.
I don't know. I never understood this. I never understood why it has to be. Why is it so important?
Read it. Maybe ask Hillel David next time you see him.
I didn't discuss. I personally didn't discuss it. This is when the Tzaddik Kedushin had told me that's what Hillel David had said. But
Barry, you remember a couple of years ago, Rav Shachter got into trouble during a shir about this. Do you remember this one?
No.
Someone asked him if a woman could read the kesuba, and he said, "Why ask about a woman? A monkey could read the kesuba."
Oh, yeah. Now I remember that.
Yeah, I remember someone.
Now that you brought this up, why were they singing? What were they singing so much by parents' chuppah? By every bracha they were singing. What were they singing?
No idea. I wanted to make a macha that it's a hefsek. I wanted to be yeshivish. No, this family, Bli Ayin Hora, they sing Yoimam V'Laila. They sing. That's what they do. They sing. It's very nice. So they just started to singing. One time, I'll tell you what happened. By the last bracha, the maitre d' lost the card. What's the longest bracha? The one you really need a siddur for is Asher, right? Asher Barosa. He lost it. He couldn't find it. So I told the guys, now you don't sing till he finds it. So then they Googled it till they found it. So the guy, the grandfather, right? He's a rav. Right? He gets up there and says the bracha achrita from a cell phone. So all right, that's. I guess it worked as well as the air conditioning. Yeah, but anyway.
Abaya, they thought you wanted to have your rib steak well done, so they wanted to, delay things a little bit.
No, they should have served it to me before by the first bites.
Oh,
they should have a rule: everybody over 50 gets the steak first. before the onions, reverse it.
You have to bring your card that you daven in the plag mincha ma'ariv, then you can get it. Anyways, okay. So I don't stumble late to a mincha. All right. Fine. Everybody should have a meaningful rest of Bein Hashmashos, or almost.
Are you going upstate?
Late tonight.
What time this week?
Oh, I have no idea. What time in the mincha ma'ariv is this week?
What?
What time are the minchas this week?
Well, if they're late